here in California in 2026. We're not going to cover all 800 tonight, but we did want to cover some of them, including folic acid in tortillas, whether California can actually require ICE agents to wear masks. And we're also going to talk about mental health and whether or not they're going to expand it to try and tackle this homeless problem. Plus, a whole bunch of other laws we're going to talk about, as well as what to look forward to in 2026 with the election and propositions. We're going to get into all that on this episode of the California Underground starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the California Underground. I'm your host, Phil. We are back from our 2-week holiday break. We have a ton of stuff to get to tonight. So if you're watching live, make sure you throw some stuff in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? All of that stuff. If you have any questions about any of the laws or anything, or if there's anything you want us to answer, make sure you put that in the chat as well. And as always, joining me is my trusty co-host, the best, the fastest researcher in the West. Also back from holiday break, Camille. How are you doing?
I'm having a day.
You're having it. I saw you had a chicken incident. So
yes, I had a chicken incident. A coyote got all of my chickens today.
Oh,
All of
I'm
them.
sorry.
And I love my chickens. Like they were like pets to me. They got all but one, and chickens don't do well alone. I have an next door neighbor who has chickens, so she has taken in my one lone survivor so that lone survivor hopefully doesn't die of depression. Anyway, 2026. I think we always, whenever we come back from a break, I think we always feel out of sorts anyway. We're like, what's a microphone? Where do I look? What do I say?
What is this? I don't know what to do with my, yeah, we both had like issues with our microphones and stuff, and we were
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
like
what to do.
this program and I logged in and everything was like reset. And I'm like, oh no. So anyway, yeah, it's always like we're kind of like out of sorts anyway, trying to remember how to talk to each other and to you guys. So I apologize for that and my probably swollen eyes that I couldn't put makeup on because I'm sorry, I was bawling my eyes out over my chickens. Yes.
About the loss of your chickens.
2026. We're here. We made it. It's an election year. Things are
It's
going
an
to get
election year.
We're obviously
It's going to be a big year for us. We've been saying this 2026 is a big year. Gavin Newsom will not be running for governor. So silver lining there that Gavin Newsom will not be governor after this year. So we will be obviously following the governor's race and the propositions. We're going to talk about some of them that are coming up, some that are pretty much guaranteed to be on the ballot, some that are just starting that we think will be on the ballot. Side note, if people are wondering, hey, Phil, why do you still have your Christmas tree up and it's January 6th? Well, real quick, for all the Catholics who are out there listening, you should know that it's Epiphany today. And in Catholic households, you don't take down your Christmas decorations until Epiphany. So happy Epiphany, everybody. Today is Three Kings Day. So, yeah, that's why I still have my Christmas tree and my nativity scene with the kings showing up. And yeah, a little tidbit about that. So, should we just get started and dive into it? Because we got a lot to cover. We're going to do like a speed round first of laws that are coming onto the books. And then there's a couple we're going to highlight and talk a little bit more about. So should we just hop into our speed round right now?
No, because I just want to say the voter ID initiative has collected enough signatures to make it to the ballot. Again, that doesn't mean voter ID passed, but it's made it to the ballot. So we will be voting on that this year. And thank you to everyone who joined our Telegram channel over the break. We tried to post in there as often as we could. You can still join. And
still join.
I think that's it. But I just wanted to get those things out of the way. Yeah, and now we can get into it.
Now we'll get into it. And hello to Orange County, Leslie checking in. So anyone who's watching, make sure you check in. Let us know where you're checking.
Have YouTube open, so I apologize, chat. Thanks for showing up. See,
So
I'm all out of sorts. I'll be better next
Camille's all out of sorts, all out of practice. 2 weeks is a long time in
week. It
podcasting. So
really
for us
is.
not to be around for 2 weeks,
'Cause it's like, technically, like, yeah, we take 2 weeks off, so it's like we haven't been here for 3 weeks, and so then
mhm,
it and I like I said, like, things kinda got reset when we opened up the program, and so we're just scrambling, and we made it.
that's the life of a podcaster. Anyway, all right, let's hop in and do some speed round. This is again not all the laws because 800 laws were signed by Gavin Newsom. They went into law.
And
Um,
not all 800 are necessarily going to affect you. Sorry, I have to get
right.
that out too. Like,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
sometimes it's like they'll just recognize a day of, like, "Oh, this is, for this group of people, we're recognizing them on this day. We're renaming this highway or
yeah. Mhm.
dedicating this highway." Those kinds of things will pass. Um, but yes, still 800. You think about how many they've already introduced they got see, can't even speak. Session started yesterday for the California legislator for the year, and they've already introduced I don't even know how many bills, but they wasted no time.
No,
So,
because they have a limited amount of time to get all of this stuff in. So
right.
they have to move pretty quickly if they want to get all their stuff. And it's a lot of bills that they introduce. So that'll probably be a later episode is when we get to see all the crazy bills because at the beginning of the year, the bills seem to be crazier because not all of these bills make it, but there are some definite crazy bills that we discuss. Um, but yeah, 800, yeah, a lot of it's not going to affect your day-to-day life. They may be tweaks on like current statutory law. Like I get an update of like, hey, what's all the updates on probate law? And like there's, 100 in there that are like little tweaks that change one thing or they change the language. So 800 sounds like a lot. But these are the ones that are what most citizens will come into contact during their day-to-day life. Um, so speed around minimum wage under SB3, the minimum wage is set to increase to $16.90 per hour to account for inflation. The threshold for exempt workers will rise to $70,304 per year. Some places it's different, like here in San Diego is different. I know that they have the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. So that's and now they're asking for $30. Just keeps going up and up with the fast food. And then
Wait, I'm
LA
sorry, did
wants
it pass or they're just pushing for that?
they're pushing for the
Okay.
$30, and in LA, they're pushing for $30 ahead of the Olympics. They're trying to obviously squeeze money out of people because of the Olympics, and they're gonna threaten going on strike and stuff like that. Let's see. Layoff notices requires employers when ordering mass layoffs to provide written notice if they plan to coordinate services through a local workforce development board and share information about CalFresh. Bias training, outdoor dining options allows restaurants to continue to offer COVID-19 era outdoor dining options. Cool. Okay.
2026 and we're still talking about COVID-19.
Yeah.
Like,
If you wanted,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, well, so I, over break was just binging on TV shows. Shark Tank was one of them, and so the people would come in and present their whole thing and talk about their sales, and then be like, "Oh," and then COVID hit, and I'm like, "I don't want to hear about COVID in 2020 ever again." And I know it hugely impacted everyone and everything. I'm over it. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of sickening to hear about COVID at this point. What's up, Costa Mesa, Humboldt County people checking in? I guess if you'd like al fresco dining, although here in San Diego, they kind of like killed that because they required all these crazy permits that were expensive and plans, and a lot of restaurants just said, "Forget it, like we're not going to do it
Yeah,
anymore."
okay, no, I'm
Because,
gonna mention COVID-19. It was like they were
well,
kind of forced to do that if they
yeah,
wanted
but
to stay open. Now, of course, the government's like, "You have to do this, but now we're gonna force you to pay for this."
mhm, they have to get their pound of flesh. They saw an
Well,
opportunity to make more money, so they were like, "Obviously, we're going to charge you to keep doing this." Food delivery app accountability AB 578 requires food delivery platforms to provide refunds for any undelivered item. Okay. App users can adjust their tips accordingly. The law also requires the companies to clearly disclose the cost of food, fees, and tips. You had posted, is this the same bill as the one you posted in the Telegram? about Andrew Gruel was not happy about this one because it now puts all the liability on the
Yeah,
restaurants for
the
refunds.
same or it goes along with this because didn't it kind of force like Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats that if they actually end up with missing items, they have to refund the entire order, not just the one item? Because they already
Yeah.
refund the item or partial. I'm the biggest market for these delivery systems. So, like, I just admit Instacart, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, like it's me. Oh,
Instacart is absolutely they don't sponsor the show, but if they do wanna sponsor the show, love Instacart. I have not stepped foot in a Costco in months because I send them to Costco on the weekend to get all our stuff.
same. It's I don't wanna admit how much I use these delivery services. And, so as far as, like, the food one goes, yes, every so often they'll mess up an order. Just last week, I did a Jersey Mike's order, and when I ordered, I was like, "You know what? I'm feeling like I want something sweet," and I added a cookie. They didn't deliver the cookie. Better for me and my health, but, no big deal. I just, like, go in and note that it wasn't delivered, and they'll refund the cost of the cookie. But I thought what I read, and if anyone wants to correct us in the chat because we could be wrong. Anyway, I thought I read that the new law was going to be that they were now responsible for, like, the entire order. Which
That's what I saw you had posted in our Telegram. Again, this is the stuff that we discuss and post in our Telegram if you're interested in joining. This is like during the week we discuss this stuff. Um, but yeah. Anyway, big fan of Instacart. I
yeah.
like when I order enough money and they give me a $10 restaurant credit. And then I'm like, great. Now I'm gonna go spend money on restaurants. Thanks,
I
Instacart.
never pay attention to those. Should I start paying attention to those? I get them in the email, I just delete, and I'm like, I don't
Oh yeah, you gotta make use of
dang,
that $10 account. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
missing
it's a
out.
great way, especially with a big family. All right, let's see anything else interesting here. Overdraft fee of unions, $14. AI safety reports. It looks like I think this might be the year 2026 that we're going to see a lot of, not just in California, but across the country. We're probably going to see a lot of AI regulation. I think is it California was the one who now requires all these big companies like Meta to tell people that something is AI, like they have to put something on it, which is good because if you have like older parents, then they can easily get sometimes I'm like tricked. I look at them like, is that
They're
AI or not?
they're getting good. They're
They're
getting
getting
really
really good.
good, and, like, I'll, like something well, without actually tapping it, like, I'm, like, looking at it, I'm like, "I like this," in my head, "I like this," and I'm like, "But is this even real?" And especially, I'm an animal person, and the animal videos where they're like, "We rescued this cat from the flood," and I'm like, "Oh, all the feels," and I'm like, "This is fake."
Yeah, it's fake. Um, I saw one today that was very convincing. It was like Nancy Pelosi showing up to Congress in a bathrobe with a bottle of vodka, smoking a cigarette, and
No,
it looked very convincing. Like it looked like real footage. I'm like, I know this is fake, but it just looks really, really real.
scary.
Um, Deep fake pornography, fines against providers I feel like that should just be a crime. If you're a provider
Yeah.
who does deep fake pornography, that should be a crime. We talked about this before. Anti-Semitism coordinator for schools establishes the Office of Civil Rights to prevent and address discrimination. Includes an anti-Semitism coordinator appointed by the governor. Okay, um, not sure
Yeah,
what the point
that
of that
was
is.
wait, I know we did discuss that before, and so sorry, now we're like we discussed so many things that it kinda all blends together and we forget the details. Because that one was I feel like we, like, read it and it was like, "How is this gonna do anything?" Or what are they I don't know, what do you recall about that?
I think we had an issue of like, was it gonna? I don't know. Was it gonna be like now people are gonna be searching out for anti-Semitism? Is there punishment? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's the thing,
weird that the government is like gonna be rooting it out.
yeah,
That's what our big issue is.
I think that's the thing with so much of this is that it sounds good, like, you can read it and you're like, "Well, yeah, what's wrong about that?" But then when you really go into it, they didn't necessarily really go into it. It's like the horse what is it? The cart before the horse kinda thing where it's like, "Okay, this sounds great, this is a good idea, but now where's how is this gonna get implemented? What about X,
Mhm.
Y, and Z? If any of these are gonna cost money, where is that gonna come from? Because we already know we're in this huge budget deficit. So it's like, okay, that sounds like a great idea, but when it comes down to it, how is this gonna actually physically work? And,
Yeah.
and I think that's the problem with so many of these bills. I mean, of course, another problem with so many is that they really are infringing on our actual freedom. But yeah, there's just I forget the details of that specific one, but I remember we talked about it and that we found so many little loopholes and just problems with it that we were like, what are they even doing here?
Yeah, I think it was one of those. It's interesting as you go through the year, you can you can look back on these bills and go, man, this is really a snapshot of this point in 2025 that they got this bill to the floor, voted on it, and got it passed by the governor. Because this was obviously a big thing at different points in 2025 with the rise of anti-Semitism and concerns about it. So whether or not that continues to be an issue in 2026, we'll see. But it's interesting. You can see and this is our legislature being too overly reactive about everything, is where something happens and they have to rush and the government has to rush in and try and solve every single problem. So that's obviously a bigger concern, is that the government thinks they need to solve every single problem under the sun. But we get these laws that we look at and kind of scratch our head and go, I don't know what the point of this is. How are they going to enforce this? Like, I can imagine these coordinators are probably going to make, I don't know, $200,000 a year, because why not? It's the California state government. Someone's making, you know, a cool quarter of a million just for being a public servant. So, all right. Laws that impact elections, AB 5, not to be confused with the other AB 5, requires election officials to finish counting most ballots and release the count by the 13th day after an election.
Hmm,
Counties can file a notice for an extension. Until now, counties had until 31 days after the election to send the Secretary of State a copy of all election results. So
pretty sure
uh,
they're still counting the 2024 election results in California.
we're still waiting on them. Yeah. We're still waiting on the final vote for 2024. I would believe that. There's still some counties that they're finishing, who voted for President Trump and who voted for Kamala Harris. I guess their whole idea was they wanted to dissuade or, bring back some trust in elections. That was what I read. I think the one thing that we're going to talk about in a bit that will probably bring a lot of trust back into our election process is voter ID, and whether that passes, that proposition passes. Let's see. Laws that impact health. He did it. Gavin Newsom got his $11 insulin. So that's cool. You can now buy insulin for $11 per pen, provided by Cal
I agree
RX.
with that.
Yeah, I mean, okay. We were, I think they were really behind and they spent a lot of money on it. So it's good to see they actually got it done, which is an improvement from a lot of Gavin Newsom promises where he says stuff and doesn't really get it.
Right.
Um,
Our
we're going to
taxes
talk
really
about,
should be an investment. I mean, we've talked about that before. We agree if we're gonna pay taxes, we should be getting something back from it. And I
mhm.
mean, not necessarily like this insulin thing, as far as I know, you're not on insulin and I'm not on insulin, but we know people who need this and it is expensive and it is life-saving, it's necessary. But, the whole our roads, our police are like, yeah, I mean, if we're gonna pay taxes, we should have good I have good roads. My city's very good about our road repair, but I know that much of California is just potholes and it's wearing and tearing on our cars and making them more expensive to maintain and all that. And then, we're constantly defunding the police or shuffling that money around and closing libraries or backing off on hours for libraries or, this and that. I know San Diego's had some issues with that recently. It's like, yeah, if we're going to pay these taxes, then yeah, there should be actual benefits. And I do believe the insulin one is a benefit for much of society. And so I
Mhm.
don't disagree with it.
Uh, Fortified store-bought tortillas, we're gonna go dive into that a little bit more in depth, so we'll come back to that one. Protections for blue whales aims to protect blue whales by incentivizing voluntary shipping companies to slow their speeds along the California coast. I don't know
Okay.
how that doesn't seem like enforcement at all. Like you're incentivizing voluntary shipping companies to slow their speeds. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
All right.
I don't know what the incentive could be, but
You know, like,
cat decline ban bans owners from having their cats declawed. This is a big one that's got everyone in uproar. I heard people talking about it at work today. SB 1053 bans grocery stores from providing customers with plastic shopping bags. This new law bans an exception in a previous law that allowed thicker plastic bags that could be reused. So if you remember way back, what was it, 10 years ago? Feels like at this point, they
12, I think.
banned the thin reusable bags. And then they were like, but you can also buy these thicker plastic bags that are reusable, and it just turned into we were buying thicker bags, and we always talk about like where did all that money go? 10 cents a bag, it's got to be going somewhere. Some grocery
Well, I
store
think the
lobbies.
grocery stores have to buy them to provide them.
Yeah,
So,
but I mean,
they're, paying 5 cents a bag and getting 5 cents in profits, I don't know. That one, again, I think that was 2014, which is already
mm,
12 years ago, crazy. Um, there was, like, a two-part thing on the ballot that year, and I it's so far back, and I forget exactly what it was, but there was, like, 2 different we were voting to pay for them, and then there was, like, a second part, and I don't remember, but it didn't make sense that we voted to pay for them based on the second part didn't actually pass. Well, it wasn't even a second part, it was just a different bill, but they went
mhm.
hand in hand, but the other one didn't even pass, and so it didn't make sense for the paying of it, and of course, we did that because we had previously then, like, banned the paper bags because that was bad for the environment.
Yeah, I don't know. It all seemed like
Trust the
I think
science.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I voted against it. I thought it was stupid, but, because, now you have to go out and buy bags for, like, the garbage can in your bathroom, because that's what everybody used those old plastic
Yeah,
bags for, was for the things in the like, the tiny little garbage cans. Now we don't have that anymore. Look what they've taken from us. Uh, hold on to your seats. We now have a state snake. SB 765 establishes the giant garter snake as the official state snake. And we also have a state shrub, establishes the big berry manzanita as the official state shrub. I imagine the only reason they do this is so that it's for protected status, so that you can't, I don't know, tear down these shrubs or kill these snakes.
I'm really
I think
sorry
that
for my bad joke, but I thought Gavin Newsom was the official state snake. Womp womp.
that's a pretty good one. I don't have my
I don't
soundboard
know.
handy.
I should see myself out.
Stoves and refrigerators for renters requires landlords to provide working stoves and refrigerators for tenants as part of lease agreements. Okay. I mean, sure. Not a horrible
That's
thing.
additional expenses, but okay, so that's another one. Like,
Mhm.
let's say that you own a rental property, and so you provide that for your tenant, and then they perhaps lived there for 10 years, and now it's still operating, but it's not necessarily the best looking, and I just it's one of those things, where do we end? Like, a new tenant moves in, or does that tenant have a right to request a new one, demand a new one, because they didn't necessarily take care of it?
Mhm.
It just I was thinking about it because my refrigerator's kinda it's getting up there in age. It still functions as a refrigerator for the most part, and I don't want to buy a new refrigerator until we remodel our kitchen. Like, I don't wanna, spend a few $1,000s just to a few years later re-spend that money. And so it was just something I was thinking about because a refrigerator, if you maintain it and take care of it, it can last a long time,
Mhm.
but it's may not be, like, the best to do with latest model, and it's just one of those things, where does it end? That's with tenant rights. I do wonder.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say, it just says working, so, I mean, a stove could work, it could work like crap, but it could
Yeah,
work. Doesn't have to be a brand new one.
and then
I guess
because you were trying to ban the gas stoves, like, I don't know,
yeah, that's the
are
whole gas stove thing
gonna
makes
be
me mad
altered to
because
be, like, only, the electric. I don't it's just again, this is one of those things where I feel like it sounds, like, nice and cozy, but when you really get into it, is it good?
yeah, it's I mean, so much of this is like nanny state, and that's California. So much of this is nanny state laws of like we have to solve every single problem under the sun. Maybe I'm missing the point, and maybe someone can yell at me and be like, "You're a privileged white male," and be like, "I don't know. I've never looked at a place and been like, oh, they don't have a refrigerator or a stove." I'm pretty sure if that came up as part of my rental search, I'd be like, "Well, I'm not going to move in there. They don't have a refrigerator or a stove." Like
The
doesn't that?
the stove I can see. I feel like refrigerator should be optional.
Yeah, and it I don't know. It just feels like are we that are politicians that down on the ability of humans to make their own decisions that they don't believe that they could look at a rental listing and be like, there's no fridge or stove here and I'm not going to rent it. So the state goes, okay, we'll fix that and we'll require all the landlords to do it. I don't know. It just seems kind of silly. Like it's the free market, make your own decisions. You're an adult. Um, anyway.
Right. No, a quick story. I think I may have shared this here before, but, my husband and I own a home now. We've been homeowners for 15, 16 years, something like that, but we prior to that did rent. And we were in the city of Irvine in Orange County. We were looking for a new home to rent several years back. And it was, we looked at a home. It was really, really beautiful and remodeled and stuff. And we were probably going to put in an application to try to rent it. And, and we basically like kind of like reconvened back in the kitchen. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, where's the oven? Oven. There's no oven. Like, and there wasn't an oven. I wasn't like blind. There was not an oven. And so we, went back to the landlords and we're like, is this a mistake or are you adding an oven? What's happening here? And they're like, oh no, we decided not to have an oven, but there's a beautiful smoker in the back that you can use. And I'm like, I'm gonna bake my birthday cake and I'm gonna smoke it. What?
Yeah.
And we did not put in an application on that home. I felt like an oven was kind of a necessary part of my life. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why these laws pass.
Maybe, but I feel like you made the adult decision to be like, we're not going to rent that home because
Right.
it doesn't have what we're looking for. I'm not going to pass a law to force him.
Right.
All right. Moving on. Penalties for criminals who buy teens for sex, AB 379. We've covered this before. This was kind of batted around because California Democrats didn't want to pass this. And then the outrage, the public outcry. And I always say this, and it's always worth repeating because people think like California is hopeless. You can scare the bejesus out of California Democrats in Sacramento to get them to reverse course on a lot of things. If there's enough public pressure, as there was with AB 379, it will pass. Like they'll feel the pressure and actually pass these things. So this was make it a felony for older adults to buy 16, 17-year-olds for sex. It also makes it a misdemeanor crime in getting California loiter with the intent to purchase anyone for sex.
Yeah, there was a lot of
So
tension with that one, but the pushback really did work. So great job,
put,
California.
yeah, pushback works. Blowing up their phones, emailing them, it actually does work. So for the time being, while we have a Democratic supermajority, this is what we have to do. Diwali is now recognized as a holiday. Okay.
Okay.
Doesn't change my life. Parking ticket hardship allows agencies to reduce or waive parking penalties if the person can show evidence of inability to pay in full because of financial hardship or homelessness. I don't hate
Okay.
that. I don't think that's not a bad deal. Food allergen notification. California becomes the first state in the nation to require restaurants to list major food allergens on their menus.
They keep that's fine. It's fair. But I feel like California keeps every few years there's something that menus are required to add.
Mm-hmm.
Like if what is it if restaurants or fast food joints own more than a certain amount of locations, they're required to list the calories on their menu, stuff like that. Which menus are gonna get really long. Cheesecake Factory probably has it all. That's why like Cheesecake Factory is like a freaking novel. They probably just list every little detail. They're just ahead of California. They're like done.
Cheesecake Factory is going to have like a separate book that goes along with the menu that shows you. You're going to have to like reference it. It's going to be like every dish you see in the menu, they're going to be like, for food allergen, go to section 1A or something.
It's like the law books. Like
Yes. Yeah. You'll have
this
to cross
this
reference.
book number, this page, this edition.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, most importantly, Again, the legislature tackling the important issues under SB 576. Video streaming services won't be able to make the volume of ads louder than the video that consumers are watching. So there
Okay.
you go. That's a quick rundown of a lot of the bills. We have a couple bills we do want to dive into a little bit more in depth because we saw people were talking about them. This first one that I want to talk about, which has gotten a little bit more, I guess, traction and play. It's been a little bit more viral, and I think when we first talked about this bill, we kind of raised our eyebrows to what's the point of this? So they had just passed a new law regarding folic acid in tortillas, and now California is going to be requiring folic acid in tortillas, and it's caused a little bit of an uproar, a little bit of people wondering why are they doing this? We don't like the government telling us what can be in our food. So here's a video we're going to watch, and then we'll comment on it afterwards.
Here in Fresno, the owners of Tortilleria Ortuño have been making tortillas just like these for 5 years and have over 50 years of experience combined making the tortillas. And they say that now that AB 1813 has been signed into law, it's actually going to change very little about their business's day-to-day operations. Daniel Zamora has been making tortillas for 17 years. He had no idea when he married his wife that he'd be marrying into a family of more tortilla makers.
Sí, la verdad, a nosotros no es porque digas negocio, pero nos encanta hacer tortilla.
AB 1830 requires large-scale corn masa manufacturers to add folic acid to their products to prevent birth defects in the Latino community.
De hecho, en México, a las mujeres antes y después del embarazo se las recomiendan.
Though Zamora's business isn't a large-scale manufacturer, it does produce thousands of fresh tortillas daily.
3,000 tortillas por hora. Y son 12 horas. Y en la otra son 8 horas.
All of those tortillas already have trace amounts of folic acid.
Realmente, pues le digo, sabemos que ya contiene ácido fólico el maíz, entonces que le agreguen una pequeña porción más no creo que afecte.
Assembly member Dr. Joaquin Arambula says since 1998, folic acid has been added to cereal grain products, preventing birth defects in other communities. And now, the Latino community will reap the same benefits. Those buying tortillas at Tortilleria Ortuño say they're on board too.
So this is amazing. So I think this is great. This is healthy food. It's great. You know, it's like it's homemade. You know, it's the best food you can get.
In Fresno, for YourCentralValley.com, I'm Marco Rosas.
What that lady said at the end, it's healthy food and it's really good. I'm not sure a lot of that is I love corn tortillas, but you can overdo it on corn tortillas. So I don't know how super healthy it is to eat a lot of corn tortillas, but they are homemade and they are delicious. And I guess this is an issue regarding a specific birth defect, and that's why this assembly bill was introduced to require folic acid to be put in because it was regarding Latino women who were pregnant and they weren't getting the right amount of folic acid to their babies, and it was causing birth defects. Um, I don't, you sent something to me that you did a little bit more research as well about the specific birth defect and why did they introduce this?
Well, I'm not even sure what the birth defect is. It's just something about because the Latino community tends to consume more tortillas, but they're not getting the folic acid in it. And so this was a way to hopefully help prevent that or improve that area. But what I sent you is because there's kind of there's like a mutation that some people have. I think it's
Mhm.
I don't have it open. MTFHR, some combination of those letters, and I forget what it is. But where actually some people cannot, they're. I'm sorry, I'm so off tonight. They're not able to metabolize the folic acid correctly, and that can actually be dangerous in itself. And there is a large part of the like it does affect a large part of the Latina women. And so they're the ones that this would obviously be that they're like saying that women during pregnancy need this folic acid. But we're encouraged to take prenatal vitamins when we're pregnant anyway and to get that folic acid. So I don't know how you find out if you have this gene. There's all sorts of like I guess what you could say conspiracy theory information out there, if you will. But this is not new information. This was something that was going around when I was pregnant way back 20 something years ago. And so there is conflicting information out there, but it does feel like making it like putting it like mandating that it's in this one particular food is not necessarily in our best interest. It's like there's other ways to go get this while you're pregnant if necessary, if that makes sense.
So I'm reading from CalMatters. State data show that between 2017 and 2019, the latest years for which data is available, about 28% of Latinas report taking folic acid the month before becoming pregnant. White women took the vitamin at a higher rate, with 46% of them reporting consuming folic acid, according to the California Department of Public Health. This puts Latinas at a higher risk of having a baby born with neural tube defects, defects of the brain and spinal cord. Some examples of that condition, like spina bifida and I'm going to butcher this name, anencephaly. Research has shown that folic acid can reduce birth defects by up to 40%. That's why it's found in prenatal vitamins. But because women may not find out they are pregnant until weeks or months after, public health has long recommended that folic acid be also added to staple foods such as pasta, rice, and cereals.
Okay.
So,
So because women sometimes, well, we don't find out till we're pregnant until, we can't find out we're pregnant until at least about 2 weeks is usually the 2 weeks after conception. It's the earliest
mhm.
we can find out. So are we going to outlaw women drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes because in those 2 weeks they might be consuming a lot of alcohol, cigarettes?
Mm,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
again, this is how far do we take this? This
Yeah.
mandating what people can and cannot do, or if they're going to eat a certain food, it has to have this and that, and it's just that's where I get kind of angry. Like, of course, I'm a mom, I'm a woman, I've been pregnant multiple times, I've had miscarriages, I've been pregnant like 6 times that I know of, and I'm I'm all for healthy pregnancies and healthy babies 100%, but I just don't see how where do we end with this? Where's the
Mhm.
line? Where
Yeah. Are we going to start requiring like I don't know, like to have women sign a waiver that they are trying to get pregnant so they can't go into a bar? Like, oh, ma'am, I can't serve you that glass of wine because I need you to sign a waiver saying you are not trying to get pregnant. So therefore there's no risk. Like it's gonna get and it comes back to this whole what we were talking about before. It's kind of there's still some responsibility you as a citizen has to take of like, okay, like you have to if you're trying to get pregnant and or you're doing the act that gets you pregnant, it might be smart to take the precautions and know that you should be looking out for these things. um I imagine most people who are trying to get pregnant are on the right medication or prenatals or you know there's vitamins now that help with pregnancy and all of that. So it becomes this. It's this nanny state. The nanny state of California knows no bounds, and it just keeps going and going. Someone in the chat literally just said nanny state the same time I said it. Um, it, it
scary.
it's it's crazy because you're right. At what point do we stop and say, okay, we have to make sure we account for every single decision you may not be making, like as a grown adult or a human being, that you can't pick a rental. We want to make sure you don't pick a rental without a refrigerator or a stove because you can't go look at it and determine for
Yeah.
yourself that you want a refrigerator or a stove included in your apartment. And now we're going to start requiring certain things in your food, whether you like it or not. I have seen a lot of people push back because they don't like the government screwing with um specifically food and requiring stuff in food, that there may be downsides to folic acid. And someone was saying that there's now going to be like a black market for like tortillas and like
Right?
homemade tortillas, which
Yeah,
I
I was starting to think I want to make tortillas actually, just because homemade tortillas are so delicious. But I'm not always
They're
going to.
actually, once you get the hang of it, corn, you can get the masa in stores and you can figure it out. I mean, this white guy figured it out. So my suegro was very impressed one day when
I
she
just
came
want to
over for dinner.
say,
And
not to like air all my information, but because we're talking about like if you're trying to conceive and so you're making better decisions for yourself because you're like, oh, I want to get pregnant, I'm actively trying to get pregnant, and therefore I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to, up my chances and a better pregnancy and all that. I have 4 children and I only planned one of them. So, like there was only ever one time that we were like, yeah, let's have another kid. And the other 3 were surprises. Great surprises. I'm very happy and very grateful to be a mom. I don't want I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying I was never like preparing my body for pregnancy except for one time. So
yeah.
there you go.
So that's one of the ones that people are really up in arms about is the folic acid in tortillas. You know, I guess the moral of the story is you're gonna have to find a small producer, small
Yeah,
batch
like you gotta go
producer.
to the border, Arizona or Mexico, and then they're gonna start banning that, like, "Oh, you're sneaking tortillas over the border,
Oh,
this."
you're sneaking contraband tortillas
Yeah,
across the border of Mexico. Yeah, that's going to be what they're asking at the border. Are you sneaking
it's
non-folic acid tortillas
they're,
over
like,
from
shining
Mexico?
this flashlight, "Do you have any tortillas in here?"
Yeah, boy, that will bring border crossings to an absolute crawl because so many people go down to TJ and buy tortillas. Somebody put this in the chat. Um, Good people don't need laws to tell them how to act. Bad people will always find a way around them. Socrates, thank you.
Hmm,
Thank you for that
good point.
from the chat. Good quote. All right. Next, I did want to touch upon real quick is this federal. They're trying to. We'll talk about this real quick because we got another video I want to get to. Um, they passed a law that they want to require ICE agents to wear or to not wear masks. Sorry, it's backwards. To not wear masks.
Masks. Banning ICE agents from wearing masks.
Right.
Yeah,
And this was a Scott Wiener bill, I
of
believe,
course. Yes, it was.
because, tackling the important issues. I'll say this about it. We've said it before. This is obviously a virtue signaling bill, and it's going to probably be struck down in court. I think Bill Asaley has already filed a lawsuit over it to get it overturned because it's federal law enforcement, and good luck. The state has no jurisdiction over federal law enforcement of how they conduct their thing. So if they want to wear masks and the federal government says, yeah, you can wear masks to protect your identity, because there have been federal agents and ICE agents who have been followed home, who have been harassed, that there are privacy issues, that they follow them home to their families and stuff like that. And these crazy people, they threaten them, or I mean, it's just an issue of concern. They're doing their job. Whether you agree or not with their job, it still means that they don't have to go home and get assaulted or harassed by people.
Right.
Uh, I believe that was just filed because of the fact that when it comes to law, like you're not going to file a lawsuit until it's actually what they call ripe, meaning that until it actually goes into effect. So it went into effect, and Bill O'Salley has filed a lawsuit to strike it down. I imagine it'll probably be a quick thing, but in the meantime, our future congressman from San Francisco, Scott Wiener, is going to be able to parade around on X and talk about what a great guy he is. I did see he went back and forth with like a little tit for tat about like, oh, Bill O'Salley, why don't you say first assistant U.S. attorney, not FA attorney or something like that? It's like, who cares, man? He's still the top U.S. attorney, and he's still gonna school you in court.
I
So
follow Scott Wiener on social media on both X and Instagram because, I like to keep updated with what's going on. So I follow several of our state
we
legislators.
subject ourselves to Scott Wiener just so you guys don't have to.
He sickens me so much. I'm sorry. But he does, and I want to mute him so badly, but I need to know what he's up to. And of course now he's running for Congress. But speaking of Congress, we did lose a California Congress member today, a Republican, which we only had 9, Doug LaMalfa, who represents like way, way up in Northern California. I guess he tragically passed, and we don't really know much detail about that, but I think last night. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. Anyway, yeah, I follow Scott Wiener. I know you do, but I just so often just want to mute him or unfollow him because I get so disgusted at what he says. But and I think I might have said this before, going back to COVID. So there's like new flus on the rise. I think even one right now, like people are getting pretty sick, and there's talk of, oh, some states are saying we should be masking up and all that. And that meme, you all know the meme of the two choices, and it's like I want like Scott Wiener. Do we require them to mask to prevent the spread of this flu, or do we require them not to mask so that we know who they are? Like the sweating of the
The
decision,
personal choice, yeah, of
like
which button.
what
Yeah.
to do.
hmm My buddy actually just said he got the super flu. That's what they're calling it, this big super flu. But somebody said, but it's perfectly fine for Antifa to wear masks. Yeah, I guess if you're protesting, you can wear masks. So, the identity of protesters, protect that. That's fine. So if you're setting government buildings and private property on fire, cool.
Yeah.
Someone said, I'm in Northern California. I don't obey demon. I'm assuming this is Democrat demon rat laws. The state of Jefferson. That's what I call it. And people are like, what do you mean by the state of Jefferson? I call anything north of like Sacramento the state of Jefferson. And I do want to visit someday. I keep saying I want to go all the way up there and visit because I hear it's beautiful up there. Let's see. Next story. There is someone who brought up farmer's daughter. I do want to come back to your point. So I'm going to show this on the screen. So I don't want to come up. If you have any other issues you want us to talk about at the end, we'll get to your chats and stuff like that. But this AI thing, I do want to talk about just because I have some random thoughts on it. But the next law is, I think, probably more consequential in the sense of dealing with homelessness. And we've seen it, care court, mental health, all of that, what's happening with care court and how it, in my mind, has been a disaster. It's been an absolute failure. It hasn't done anywhere close to the numbers that it's expected. You
Kind of
don't know
like
what
the
I'm talking about.
fire,
Kind
which
of like the
again,
what?
anniversary. That's tomorrow.
What was that?
The Palisades fire, like
Oh, yeah.
all the cutting the red tape. They haven't done anything. The 1-year anniversary of the Palisades fire is tomorrow, January 7th.
Yep.
And
And we did
we
fire.
keep hearing about all the aid and the red tape that they've cut, and their easy access to permits, and they're all in one system, and yet nothing. I mean, I shouldn't say nothing, but next to nothing. At this
Yeah.
rate, what are we hearing? It's going to be 727 years before they can complete the building of it. Sorry, not a topic that we meant to go down the road of. I keep just interrupting and throwing things out. I apologize.
No, well, it's our first episode back, and there's a lot of news stories going on. And we did get that report, which I did record a video detailing, and I'll go out tomorrow morning about
Oh, yes.
they're doing the congressional investigation, Kevin Kiley, of where the money went for fire aid. They have an idea. Now, it's not all the money, but again, I think any dollar that was spent not directly benefiting the wildfire victims is a crime. I don't care if it was $10 out of the $100 million that they raised. The point is there was enough money that went to places it shouldn't have that it's criminal. All right, let's watch this video real quick about care court, and then we'll comment on this story.
And tonight we're talking about the controversial Care Court program aimed at addressing severe mental health issues and homelessness. And it's all part of Governor Gavin Newsom's multi-billion-dollar plan to overhaul the state's behavioral health system. I want to bring in ABC 10's Becca Habecker, who's joining us live in studio, because Becca, you've been really digging into the numbers and also looking at the results so far.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Care Court launched as a pilot in some counties nearly 2 years ago now, with other counties launching Care Court this past December. Now, our colleague Jackson Ellison and I sought to find out, is Care Court working to get people off the street? Well, the results are mixed.
My daughter kept falling through all those cracks.
Elizabeth Kino Hopper has filed a petition to get her daughter involved in Care Court in Sacramento County after other attempts to get her services haven't worked.
I have full confidence that over time, this program is actually doing exactly what it was intended to do, is to recognize there are some people who will be very difficult to engage in treatment, and they will need repeat opportunities.
To qualify for Care Court, which stands for Community Assistance, Recovery, and Empowerment, someone must be an adult with a diagnosis of schizophrenia spectrum or other psychotic disorders with severe and persistent symptoms and not already stabilized.
The petitions are filed directly with the court. The judge is the one that makes the prima facie review on whether they meet, on paper at least, the criteria for the Care Court program.
Nicole Cable is the health program manager for Sacramento County Behavioral Health Services. She oversees the county's implementation of Care Court.
I think what it's doing is really helping people.
She says if the Care Court judge determines a person meets the criteria, he orders the county to go make contact with that person and give an in-person assessment. And if they qualify, offer Care Court participation.
We are bound by that mandate, but the clients are still able to say no.
She says since launching Care Court in December, Sacramento County has had some 75 petitions on behalf of individuals. Of those, 10 people are on care agreements.
A care agreement can be all sorts of different things, housing supports, therapy, medication, really anything that our service providers can offer.
But what if someone rejects care or doesn't meet the criteria?
Our data doesn't really tell the story. You look at it and you'll see that we've dismissed a lot of the cases or closed referrals because they didn't meet criteria. I think what's not shown is that for all of those clients, we're looking at what else do they qualify for? How else can we get them into services?
We are very opposed to Care Court for a number of reasons.
Samuel Jan is senior policy attorney at Disability Rights California. He says concerns include the high cost of Care Court. According to a legislative analysis, the cost per individual in the CARE Act for fiscal year 2023-24, that's the court's pilot period in only a handful of counties, was approximately $713,000. At the time, the program had only 100 participants.
If we want to address homelessness, we need affordable housing, that money would be much better served going towards, community-based voluntary services and housing.
Elizabeth.
I'm going to interject here. That guy is dead wrong. How many times are we going to listen to people say we need affordable housing? That's the issue with homelessness, is affordable housing. We're just going to build more affordable housing. Well, we build affordable housing in places like here in San Diego, and it's still $2,000 to $3,000 for a studio apartment. Okay, it's still unaffordable, but doesn't address the issue that you can put a lot of homeless people into housing or temporary housing, and if they have a mental issue, they're not going to thrive in that housing no matter what you do. So you're kind of skipping the step of if these people are suffering from a severe mental psychosis, whether it's drug induced or because of any other mental disability, you're skipping a step of you can't just take the homeless guy who's out there screaming at imaginary demons in his head on the street corner, throw him into an apartment and expect that's going to work, because we've seen that doesn't work. And we've seen housing shelters, stuff like that, get absolutely trashed. So yeah, I that guy, when he says, oh, we don't need Care Court, we just need more affordable housing. I mean, at what point in California are we going to stop saying it's all about affordable housing and we just need to get them into housing? The housing first model has proven not to work, and we have $28 billion down the toilet to prove that that affordable housing or the housing first model for homelessness doesn't work, because it's just, you're skipping a step of how to help these people.
I have an aunt who is schizophrenic, bipolar, a number of other things, and she's pretty far gone. The stories, they're kind of humorous, but they're reality. Now, fortunately for her, she has family. So obviously she does not work. And so she's my mom's sister. My mom has 5 siblings, and 5 of the 6 kids are all local to Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside. So, and my grandma's still alive. My aunt lives in a house on my grandma's property. So she's not homeless. She would be if it weren't for family. And, she receives like a certain amount of benefits from the state because she's not worked in decades and she can't work. And nobody can force her to take medications. She
Mhm.
has housing because she has family that has been able to keep her, there. She has been in and out of mental institutes in the hospital because, again, like things get crazy for lack of a better word. Um, but there would be no way to keep her in so-called affordable housing. There no way whatsoever, and she would definitely be out on the streets or dead at this point if it weren't for the fact that she has actual family taking care of her and providing for her. And so, s yeah, affordable housing, just there what even is that? It's not an answer, it's not a solution, it's non-existent.
Mhm. We've tried that. It's hasn't worked. So the only people I think who are benefiting from this affordable, housing first, affordable housing model is the developers who have political connections and get the kickbacks of all these contracts.
Well, and it
All right.
also like any of these structures that we take, when the so-called hotels that we're going to turn into affordable housing or homelessness housing and stuff, and then we build even it all goes to, or the majority goes to illegal immigrants.
Yeah. So does it ever get to the homeless? All right, let's finish up this video and we'll talk a little bit
Elizabeth
more.
acknowledges the program isn't perfect, but it is giving her hope for her daughter.
I still do support the CARE Act and CARE Court because every effort is made to do everything voluntarily.
The California Health and Human Services Agency says statewide more than 2,000 care court petitions have been filed and more than 1,000 other individuals have been offered services following an initial connection with care court. The governor's office tells ABC 10 they're pleased with the early results and continue to work on full-scale implementation. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you. And for more information on what Care Court looks like in other local counties, you can find more of our reporting over on our website, abc10.com.
Thank you, ABC 10. All right. There is an article from Cal Matters I want to read really quickly, and then we'll hop into the chat. So this is from Cal Matters. Gavin Newsom signs law and overhaul mental health system. It changes decades of practice. And I feel like we keep talking about this issue over and over again because it's an ongoing issue, and it's almost like we're banging our heads against the wall to say like this is they're eventually. I feel like they're getting there. They're slowly getting there based on this article. Goes on to say his signature loosens longstanding rules about who's eligible for involuntary treatment under the half-century-old Lanterman-Petrish Short Act, the landmark mental health law that regulates involuntary civil commitment in the state. Advocates and county leaders expect the new legislation, which takes effect on January 1st, to lead to more people being placed in treatment facilities against their will. The law, which then Governor Ronald Reagan signed in 1967, established strict criteria to determine who was eligible for involuntary treatment, as well as specific timeframes that limited involuntary holds. This included the 72-hour hold, now known as a 5150, but concomitant promises to build up community-based support programs did not materialize. So the way I describe it, it's crude, but it's basically, as we all remember back in the day, it was like the men in the white jackets or the white suits in the white van with the straight jacket come in and like taking you like that. That's essentially what this was, is they were like, okay, you need to be put into a mental institution. We're going to kind of come and get you and put you in a mental institution because you can't take care of yourself. Susan Talamentes Eggman, who is I believe a Bay Area or San Francisco state senator, social worker turned Democratic state senator from Stockton, who has become one of the legislator's main authors of mental health policies, among those who feel California went too far back then, quote, for fear of doing something wrong. We did something even worse, she said. Eggman authored the law signed today, carried the legislation to redesign the Mental Health Services Act, and co-authored last year's CARE Act. This year's attempt sailed through the legislature without opposition, expands the legal definition by which someone can be deemed gravely disabled and treated against their will. The new expanded definition allows for consideration of whether a person fails to provide their own medical care or personal safety. Includes not just mental illness, but also severe substance abuse use disorder and chronic alcoholism. So They've also expanded it. I read somewhere that they've expanded it to include psychosis as well. So it was like a certain amount of mental issues. Now it's like all psychosis, which covers a lot of it. And I was kind of saying this before, we're tiptoeing back this way. It's like the pendulum has swung back after how many years since 1967 is to, Susan Eggman's point, we went a little too far in one direction where it was we can't force people to get the help that they need. So now, without that tool by the courts and by our legal system, there is too many people who can't get the help because it's hard to get people help who don't know they need help.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. I think I sent an article to, again, not pumping up the Telegram, but I put this in the Telegram and shared my thoughts about this mother who was really upset about her son. And she was very excited about Care Court because she thought she was finally going to get a resolution. Her son is suffering from like deep psychosis. He's very violent, schizophrenic, bipolar, all that stuff. And the article starts off about how he was chucking huge rocks at her door at his house, or at her house. She had to call the cops, and the cops had to take him away. But this is like the psychosis she's dealing with, and Care Court couldn't help him because they couldn't force him into treatment. She's like, he needs treatment. He's never going to accept himself that he needs treatment. He doesn't believe he's sick because of his psychosis. And when you have an issue of, okay, well, if someone is suffering from a psychosis where they don't think they're sick, how are you ever going to get them to voluntarily go to these treatment facilities? It's impossible. You're never going to get these people to agree to go and get medical treatment when they don't believe they have an issue or they are not in their right mind. And I think that's sort of like they're trying to tiptoe their way back. In reality, they should just like repealed Lantern and Petrus all over and started all over again. But this is how California Democrats in the legislature kind of operate. They kind of nip around the edges. It's kind of like with CEQA. They should just restart with CEQA. They should just restart with Lantern and Petrus. But it feels like we're kind of tiptoeing back in that direction of allowing the courts to force people into mental facilities to get the help that they need. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I just mentioned my aunt, and she, when she has gone into treatments, she will refuse to take medications and even eat, and like she'll just starve herself. It's insane. She's an evil genius. When I say that, I mean that literally. Like you'll see those TikTok videos and stuff where it's like, say that you have to break into someone's house, but the only thing you could take is like how to something to inconvenience their lives. That's how she operates. That's why I said it's kind of humorous. It's not. It's not humorous because it's reality, but it is like that's how she thinks. And there have been so many times when it's like we can't force her to get help, and unfortunately, there are people that do need help. They don't necessarily, well, even that woman that you mentioned, it's her son. She loves her son and she wants him to get help more than anything. He doesn't recognize that he needs help. How do you force him in? But there has to be some sort of line where it's like, no, this person, they're a danger to themselves and society. That this woman shouldn't be like hiding in her house, locking herself in, hoping and praying that a rock doesn't come flying through the window and hit her, or that he, breaks in and throws rocks at her just because he doesn't see that he needs help. And so this is one of those things where I do believe in government interference. The police need to intervene, and there needs to be some sort of, like, I would love for Care Court to work. I don't want it to be a failure. I would love for it to be a thing where people do get the help that they need.
Mhm.
I'm not pro Gavin Newsom here, but give credit where credit's due. If this could work out and people really truly could be helped and get the help they need, then I'm all for it.
It's it's ironic because we've spent a lot of this episode talking about how California is a nanny state and how they've quite literally like they go out of their way to be a nanny to like every single issue, whether they think you're not getting enough folic acid, or you're not smart enough to figure out that you shouldn't rent a place without a stove or a refrigerator. But then when it comes to like the really important issues that government can step in and be like a caretaker and be the nanny state, California's like, no, 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 we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. And I understand. Look, listen, I'm as much of a civil rights libertarian as anybody, but there is also a point where you go, the compassionate thing is to get people the help that they need. And
Mhm.
I can't wrap my head around the fact that I'm walking through downtown San Diego and I see people who are not in their right mind, but they're sleeping on the streets. And especially now with all the rain and everything, it's just heartbreaking how cold it is and wet it is. And these people are out on the street and they're not getting the help that they need to get their lives back on track. That California has spent so much money and $28 billion, probably way more than that now, probably $35 billion at this point. I mean, the number's just astronomical. Don't forget, we also passed Prop 1, which was what, another $6 billion that we took out and are paying back. Um, I can't wrap my head around how we spend almost $30 billion and have not made a dent in homelessness because our elected leaders are basically, excuse my language, are too chicken shit to actually make the hard decisions and be like, we got to get these people care. We got to get them treatment, whether they like it or not. They're not going to accept it. We want to get them the help that they need. It's better that we get them the help that they need off the street where medical professionals and social workers and people who are trained in this. We've come a long way since 1967, right? Like the professional field has expanded enormously with medical professionals who can help with this and social workers and all that who can help with this. Yet we've done everything but tackle what is the real issue and just be adults about this and go, look, you clearly are not in your right mind to accept help. We can't ask you to voluntarily get help. We therefore are going to have to force you to get help. And you'll be, your life will be better off that way. And it's sad. I think I told the story before. I was involved in a conservatorship case. I was court appointed counsel for conservator, and they didn't get it was actually the wrong conservatorship that they filed. So I feel bad for the attorney who screwed that up. But it turned out this guy was suffering from such psychosis that he ended up killing himself
Oh,
because they didn't get to him in time with an LPS conservatorship and who could petition for an LPS conservatorship. And it's hard to petition for an LPS conservatorship. Now, if it was easier to petition the court to force him into some sort of treatment, that individual will probably still be alive today, but they've made it so hard that there's probably so many stories like that, sadly, out there in California of people who are just not getting the help that they need because they just don't want to do it. And again, I don't want to keep harping on the number, but over $30 billion, we probably, if we had taken this approach and just took the adult approach, how many lives could have been saved? So,
right. Right. To your point, we're always protecting the wrong thing or the wrong person. We're not protecting those who actually need the protection from themselves, which then will protect other people because you can't trust a crazy person. You never know what they're going to do. You have no way of knowing what a crazy person, what action they'll take. And so you they need to be removed from society, and I don't mean forever. I don't mean to hide them away, lock them away, and all forever or whatever. But try to get them the help they need, get them on the meds that they need, and that is where the nanny state is necessary. That is where they need kind of a babysitter. They need that help. And like I said, if my aunt didn't have family, she would definitely be one of those people out on the street. Or she may be dead at this point, who knows? So it is very heartbreaking. She's fortunate to have family, but
but
that's
there's a
not,
lot of people who don't have family, and that's
or
why they end
their
up on the
family
streets.
members aren't able to actually be there and be the kind of help that they need,
Yeah.
so So yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. It's not compassionate
Mhm.
what we've allowed to happen.
Agreed. Um, Sorry to end on a kind of a downer note. Let's look forward. Let's look forward real quick. If anybody has any comments or stuff in the chat, we did want to look forward to what's going to happen in 2026. So, you had said at the beginning, it was reported that the voter ID initiative by Reform California and Carl DeMaio has received 1 million signatures. Their goal is, I think, 1.2 because there are like redundancies or discrepancies. There's a certain amount like wiggle room that you want so that when they start invalidating some of them, you still, I think it's 800,000 or something is like what they need. So they want to get like a 1.2 million. And this is way ahead of
Way ahead of,
schedule. Like
yeah.
way. Like the deadline is like June to get these signatures in. So the fact that it's January 6th and there's already 1 million signatures is pretty, I'm going to say, is pretty damn impressive. Um, and it will be an interesting battle.
We're at, you
It'll
know,
be an it'll be an interesting battle because I think this might be one of the most contentious propositions coming up. I'm probably that and the billionaires tax. The other thing is the billionaires tax, which if you don't know about the billionaires tax, we did a video on it a couple of weeks ago. It's basically California wants to impose a one-time 5% tax on billionaires of all of their assets, whether it's liquid or not, because why not? Because they think billionaires have too much money and they should, milk them for all as much money as they can. Um, so I know the unions are pushing that. They just started collecting signatures. Uh, that one, I don't think. These are two really interesting propositions. Let's just hypothetically say they both get on the ballot. Voter ID looks like it's certainly going to get on the ballot. I imagine the billionaires tax is going to get on the ballot. The union workers will figure out how way to get it on the ballot. Um, it'll be an interesting barometer of where California is with voter ID and a billionaire's tax, and an idea of like how blue is California. We already talked about after 2024, California went more red. We do have a governor's election coming up. Whoever is the maybe Republican governor at the top of the ticket may incentivize people to come out and vote. If voter ID passes, does that change California's voting? Does it change the landscape? Does it change the political makeup of our legislature and our city councils and our local elected officials? It'll be interesting. Imagine a world where we wake up after the election here in 2026, voter ID passes and the billionaire's tax gets voted down. I could actually see that happening. So I believe there is I would not be shocked if California voted in favor of voter ID and then voted down the billionaire's tax. You heard it here first, January 6th. We'll remember this date so we can come back, how many months from now. What are your thoughts on the two upcoming propositions?
Yeah, well, again, getting it on the ballot doesn't necessarily mean it passes. I'm not a billionaire, but still I don't believe in this weird tax the rich. So many billionaires, it's not like they have $1 billion sitting in their bank accounts.
No.
It is assets. And so I don't know why are they so angry that, oh, you own multiple businesses, that you employ many people, and then you own vacation homes? Like, so what? That they didn't take away from you. If I become a billionaire, I literally didn't take anything from any of you. Money is not like, money isn't, it's infinite. There's Elon Musk didn't take from you by becoming a billionaire. And
Yeah.
that's I don't get why people get angry about this. Like, you too can go be a billionaire, make it happen for yourself. And it's quick. I don't, sorry. I get very frustrated with these things because then when they have taxed the billionaires to death and there's no more billionaires because they taxed them all to death, that's when again it starts to then the millionaires and then the rest of us. Like, they just
It goes down the line. Yeah, when they run out of that tax base, they have to start taxing other people.
the billionaires are going to leave the state. They're going to have taken from the rest are going to leave, and then they're going to come after the millionaires, and then they're going to same thing, and then we're all going to be middle class together, and then they're just going to. I don't know how they can tax this anymore. I feel like.
Hmm. I wonder if Tom Steyer is in favor of this billionaire's tax, being the sole billionaire in the race for governor right now. Somebody says if we can pass election ID, California won't have the money to implement it, just like Prop 36. I haven't looked at the language. Somebody brought this up on Instagram to me. And I said, hopefully they were smart enough to put in a provision about implementing the funding, because that was their oily way around it of Prop 36, at least for Newsom, was, oh, well, they didn't put any funding in it, so therefore they passed it, but we're not required to fund it. That wasn't so. I imagine whoever wrote this, I assume Carl DeMaio, hopefully was smart enough to put in some sort of funding and not have the same thing happen with Prop 36. Somebody said Prop 50 tells you all you need to know about what is happening in California. Now, here's the thing about that. And I'll push back on a little bit. And we're kind of a little over time. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. There's a ton of you watching live. Thank you all for coming back. It's been amazing. Great to be back. We got a really good show next week. We've been talking, or I've been talking. I haven't even told Camille yet.
Yeah, I was like, what's the plan?
As of today, I don't know if anybody follows Amy Reichart. It looks like she'll be on the show next week to talk about her discovery with daycare centers here in San Diego. So what's happening in Minnesota and what she's uncovered here in San Diego, I'm sure it's happening all over California, is basically the same thing. She's found that there's a lot of daycare centers with no kids and they're making a ton of money. So look forward to that next week. She'll be on next week. As of right now, she's confirmed that she'll be on next week. So
Awesome.
looking forward to that story. But going back to this Prop 50 thing, Prop 50, I think they made about Trump. And hopefully, Trump stays out of this voter ID thing. Please stay out of this voter ID. Just let California decide voter ID. Don't put your finger on the scale, because I think there is a good amount, and polls have shown that independents, Democrats, and Republicans all are in favor of voter ID. Like, it's ironically, there is a majority of people in California who are in favor of voter ID. And it's just, if Trump gets involved, then I fear it'll just be like Prop 50, where it's just about like, no, we have to fight Trump, and then that'll be the end of it. So hopefully it doesn't get involved, but who knows? I think there's a good amount of people who
Somehow, some way.
just stay out. Just stay out of everything. Just let California do what it needs to do. Somebody says, "What's your regular live stream days and times?" I can't stay all the. It's same time every week, 8 p.m. Tuesday. We're always here Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We took some time off for the holidays. So
Yeah, Phil just will do when like a hot topic comes up that maybe we don't want to wait, 5-6 days for. He'll do a video or something where he just wants to break down what's going on and try to educate you guys. Then that's why there's other little video clips that show up, which are very educational and very interesting. And just go ahead and watch them. But the live is always Tuesday at 8 p.m. And that's where we then get to interact with you guys in the chat. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Frog Feeder. The news hits are kind of like stories throughout the week. Someone said, funny how many other countries have voter ID, but not here. Even Mexico has voter ID. Yes, they do. And they have 1 day for voting. And you go and you vote and you get your finger in the ink, the 24-hour ink. So, when people say voter ID is racist, say, okay, I guess you think the way Mexico does it is racist.
Well, then, so are marriage certificates and passports and Anything else that you've ever had to show ID for? Apparently
Yeah.
drinking into a bar.
Buying liquor, I guess, is
Racist.
I guess buying liquor is racist now. All right. Any other thoughts? We gone over again. I said this is a big show because we just came back and we got a lot of bills to cover. But any other comments before we sign off for the night? And we're back on our regularly scheduled Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Any other thoughts before we close out?
I don't think I have any thoughts.
You're like, I'm
sorry, guys.
I'm done. It's an hour and 20 minutes. We've gone way over. All right. Well, on that, then thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, review. All of that stuff helps with the algorithm, helps people find us. Thank you for tuning in. Those who are here in the chat, make sure if you want to check out our Telegram members only channel, that's for us throughout the week. And we post a lot of stories and comments, and you get more of our insight into it. Camille and I both post stuff and we kind of give our more rundown and thoughts on stuff. So you can go check that out. And with that, we will see it on the next one. Later.